everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for another Journaling on the Budget memory lane. So last week we put in our center spine support along with the holder for our writing journal, and we weighed these extra pieces, or we weighed the side down with a little bit of extra cardboard so that they would be the same level as the top, so that when we put pressure on here, the pressure would be put on those to hold down the sides of the spine. I did have to add extra glue because our glue had dried before our video was over, or well, it wasn't as tacky. So, and that worked really well. So now we have our rubber band here to put in our writing journal. So our writing journal is going to be made out of these pieces of copied paper, which are going to fit in here. And then we are going to need a cover. So I used some corrugated cardboard that I have to make the cover. Now the one thing that I have not done yet is see if it fits. And it just fits. Okay. So that is going to be the cover of our journal. And then we'll put our pages in there. So this is a writing journal, so you'll have a spot to write right in the center of your lap book. And what we want to do is we want to make something to kind of make it so that we can keep it closed as we're going through our book. So let me put this down here. I got some more of this corrugated cardboard, and we're going to make a flap. Let me grab my scissors. A flap to hold it closed. So what I'm going to do is I want to put a piece of this under here and wrap it around to the front. I want to go with the corrugations so that when we go to wrap it this way, it will wrap much easier than if we try and go against the grooves. So I think that we'll probably make it, there are little lines in here, so I think maybe we'll just go ahead and make it as wide as those lines. That'll give me a nice straight cut, since we know I don't do real well at that. So this is going to wrap around and hold our journal closed. And then the back I'm going to just leave straight, but I think that the front I want to just round the corners off a little bit. So hopefully I can kind of, I'm going to turn it around this way. I find that if I cut my corners from the same side, whoops, they come out a little bit better. There we go. A little bit closer to the same angle. I find that if I cut this one this way, and then I go ahead and cut this one starting at the top and going down, they don't quite look as much the same. Now, if you want them perfect, you can use a corner rounder if you have one, or if you don't, you can take just a piece, just cut off a corner and flip it over. With the rounding, you're not going to be able to do that. So you can just take a piece of cardboard and just round the corner like this, and then you can hold that up to your, just hold it up to your corner and cut it. And then what you want to do so that they're the same is flip it over and put this up here and cut it. And then they'll be pretty much the same. So now we have our little flap and we need to hook it in. The first thing I'm going to do, because we want this to come around our journal, is I am going to go ahead and I'm going to loosen up this cardboard, loosen the fibers by just rounding it and rounding it, because that's what we want it to do. We want it to come around our cover. And so if we do this, it softens up those fibers and makes it easier for them to bend as we want to bend them around here. So now this is going to be, if we want this to be thicker, you know, like as we're putting things in it, this will give us lots of extra space. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go to the back of our journal and decide where we want to put it. And I'm going to kind of eyeball center and use a pokey tool to put 2 holes in it. So I'm going to say, now on the back, I'm only putting about this much in the back. We don't need a lot there. And I want a flap big enough on the front to be able to, well, I'll show you that in a minute. So we don't need a lot on the back. And I'm going to say that's probably about the middle. So I'm going to just put a hole. I'm trying to think how close I want it to the edge, because I don't want to get too close to the edge. I'm going to put a hole here, and I'm going through my little flap and the back of the book at the same time, so that the holes wind up in the same place. And then we'll put another one right here. Ouch. And then watch yourself, because I just poked myself. Okay, and now what we're going to do is, this says designer, from designer brads on it, but this actually was some company that I got brads on, which I took them off and put them in my drawer. And then these are all handmade brads that I made. And I just need to decide which color I want to use. And I'm kind of thinking, I'm really being drawn to the green ones, but the gold ones, I think the gold would look better. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to use the gold ones. And these are just brads from the office supply store. And then I painted them with fingernail polish. And I did each one, I did 5 of the colors, and then I did one that has some little sparkles on it. And that's, again, fingernail polish. All right, so now we're going to just put our brad through here and right through there. And then we're going to go ahead and put it right through here. And where's our hole at? I know it moved, but it moved after I punched the hole, because that's why it moved, because I poked myself with it. Okay, I'm just going to press that through there, and then just go ahead, make sure that they're all the way in, and then press them down. Just like that. Okay, now we have that on the back, and now what we're going to need to do is bring it around the front and decide where we want our closure to be, to hold it shut. Now, because we want to be able to move this back a little bit and let our journal expand, I'm going to put my closure fairly close to the edge of my book, so that we have more room for this to move back and still be caught underneath of the closure. And so, since the lines are running this way and these lines are running this way, I'm trying to think if I want my closure to actually run the opposite way. Let's see, what if we did it like this? I know this isn't quite long enough, but I think that I would rather, well, I don't know. Let's try one that's actually wider. Okay. See how it looks through the camera. Maybe we will do it sideways like that. So in that way, it will look just a little bit different. Now, is this one going to be wide enough? We have to put our brads on each side, and I don't like how close that is. It's very, very close. So it might be too tight to easily put that in and out. So I think what we're going to do is, I think that I am going to just go ahead and turn it the other way. So we'll turn it this way. and leave I'm going to do, because we made our thing this wide, is the wide as one of the lines, I'm going to go ahead and make our closure as wide as 2 of the lines. And then it definitely doesn't need to be that large. So I'm just going to cut right across like that. See if it looks like it's going to work well. And yeah, I think that that is going to work just fine. Now, hold on a second. I'm going to grab my corner rounder just because it's quicker. And I'm just going to make sure I slide it all the way in. I'm not so sure how well that went in there. Slide it all the way in. It's not doing. There we go. Try this one again. Really get it up in there. And then you need to knock out those extra bits so that they're not in the way. Get this one all the way up in there. And oh, there's a spot in there. Okay, whoops. Do them all the same size. Oh, I didn't do them all that size. Okay, so we're going to redo them so that they're all the same. Making sure that when you do your corner rounder that you get each of your flat sides right up to the edge of your corner rounder. Okay, there we go. I like the way that that looks. And that's nothing. Oh! I did the wrong one. This is the one we were supposed to do. So let's do it again. Hopefully a little quicker this time. But get it right up in there. Again, making sure that you are touching where you need to be touching. And I do kind of like to look at them from the bottom so that I can see that it's actually in there. And all the way up where it needs to be. Right up in there. Okay. And now that is going to, we're going to put it kind of close to the edge. And that is going to be right there. Now, I'm thinking that maybe I want to, let me grab my distress inks. Antique linen, and I don't like either one of those. I want a brown, but I want tea-dyed. That's what I want. I think walnut stain might be just a little bit too dark. And grab a sponge. Let's see if this gives us enough color. I think so. And then we could also, if we wanted to later on, we can put like a word or something on this section because it's a nice shape and size to do something like that. And I also am going to, oops, don't do that. I'm going to go around this one. And we're going to take the brads out. I know I should have thought of this first, but sometimes you just don't think of something right at the beginning for two reasons. I want to go all the way around this instead of just that top portion, but also because I want to put a little glue behind it. And that will help just hold it in place. There. Alrighty, and then we'll, gotta grab the glue. I cleaned my table off. See, that's why we don't clean up. We'll use that as an excuse. And I did have to get a new tacky glue because my other one was gone. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right here. And then we've got the brads to hold it in place while it's drying. So that's a good thing. I'm going to say that that is enough because I don't want too much. Just a little bit to give it a little extra hold. Put our ink, I don't know what I did with the lid to that. And press our brads down. And then later on, if we wanted to, we can come in and we can cover these up. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Because sometimes I just think it's nice to see the mechanics of things. Alrighty, so now this is going to go here, probably right about there. And I'm going to line my lines up, so that's nice too, to make sure that I'm straight. Just like that, and I'm going to put my hole. Let's see. Right about there, and right about there. And I'm going to push it just a little extra, hopefully. No, not quite. I'm going to push this through. So I have plenty of room for my brads to fit in there. And then I'm going to put it back on here. Kind of center it top and bottom. Kind of looking at my lines to make sure it's straight. I'm just going to put just a little poke right there. So that I can see where to go through there. So it's there and there. Alrighty, and then we're going to do 2 more of our gold brads. Do we want the gold ones or do we want the sparkly ones? No, I think we still want gold. Put this in here. And through there. Now, one thing I am going to do before I do that is I'm going to kind of break the fibers a little bit this way, just to kind of make sure that it's a little bit loose. Or flexible maybe would be more the word. And then go in here. Whoops. And find our hole here. I do like to have my little wings kind of facing the same way. There we go. Give that a good press and give that a good press. And now, there we go. Now that is our journal. And we even could round the corners of our journal and put a little of the brown around the edge there. So, but if I decide to do that, I'll probably just do it off camera because then, you know, it doesn't make the video quite so long. So now we have our journal. So now our journal is in the middle. So when our lap book is closed, this is what it looks like with our journal in the middle. And then when we open it up, and there is our journal. And then we can either look at this side or we can look at this side. Either way. So, or we can open the whole thing up. Now we have our journal. Actually, what I'm going to do for this second is I'm going to tuck it into that side to get it out of our way. And now we need to put our page over here and put our signatures into this side of the journal. So I'm going to grab that. I had put this in a heavy book so that our map could really be glued down well. And now we are going to put this one right in here. Now, the question is, do I want to do this first? And then, yes, I think I do want to do this first and then do the, put the spine in. All right, so I'm just going to, whoops. Get rid of that piece. All right, I think what I'm going to do, let me see. I think I want to tape it down this way first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, here, let's just do this. Let me grab a piece of parchment so I don't accidentally stick it to the cover. And then I'm going to put my tape on here. So, oh no, that's a bad thing. There it is. Hopefully it didn't adhere too tightly. Right. Oh, this is some cheap tape. Okay. It's going to take me 1 second. I'm going to grab my good one. I will be right back. Alrighty. So how appropriate is that? This is Papa's. So since he helped me start this journal, only fitting to use his tape. Okay, so this is long enough. This is really good tape. So I'm going to put it about half onto this side. And I am going to trim the top before I set it down so that I don't have to try and trim it later. The bottom can actually stay. The only one that has to be trimmed is the top. Trim right across there. Okay, now we can move this. And I didn't press it down real well, but I will once we get it all lined up. And get it in here. Okay, that I think looks good. There we go. You know, I was thinking we did not need to trim it on the bottom, but I don't want this sticking down here because then I won't be able to close this. So yes, I do need to trim it. The nice thing about this tape is it rips easy once you cut it. Oh. Took a little bit off right there where the tape stuck, but there's nothing we can do about that now. All right, so there we go. Now I had thought about putting some alcohol ink on this before I put it in the book because of the shine, but I want to see through. I want to see the Barnum and Bailey's there, or Ringling Brothers. So I decided not to do that. If I was going to do that, I would have done it probably before I put it on here so I wasn't getting alcohol ink on my picture. But there we go. That should hold very nicely. And then, do I want to put a piece on the back? I think we should. That will hold it much better. And it's not quite long enough, so I'm going to leave just a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom. Now, because this cardboard has a little bit of thickness to it, I'm going to press it to here, and then I'm going to press it down along the edge of that cardboard before I stick it over here. So now it's along the edge of that cardboard, because we're going to put our spine in here, which is going to press on it. So I didn't want that just going straight across where there would be a gap there. Give it a good burnish. And there we go. And we'll be sticking something on there, so that'll cover that up. And this will be covered up by our spine. Okay, there we go. So now we have our front page, just like that, with our map in it. Maybe we will put, maybe we'll build a paper clip that will hold our map shut. I think that would be a good idea. So now we have that there. And so now we are going to put our signatures in here. And hopefully I did not cut that piece up. Okay, that is the piece for the spine. Make sure that it's the same height as the book, not too... Yep, okay, I thought it felt a little bit too long, but it's not. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is, let me see, I'm going to look at how many dents I have in my credit card. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so we're going to put in 2 signatures. So if we come in 1, 2 on each one, the signatures will be out here with 3 gaps in the middle. I'm going to go in 3 on each side. Okay, I'm going to go into the 3rd groove in my corrugation from each side. There will be 1 groove in the middle, but I prefer my signatures to be closer together in the center than further apart in the center, because I don't put much in the center of my signatures, so it's okay that they're pretty close together. Alrighty, so now what we need to do is we're going to take our page, and we know that it has to be up here because of our box. So this is going to be here, and we're going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So grab a pen. And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold my hand there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's the gap in the middle. So this is the groove that I want to put my marks in. And I think that I am going to come down about an inch. Whoops. So I'm going to put a hole there. And then I'm going to come up about an inch from the bottom. And I don't measure these, but if you want them to be exact, you can measure them like up from the bottom and down from the top. Make sure I get a nice... And I'm going to, right while I'm doing this, I'm going to come over here and put that one there. Come over here and put this one here. And then we're going to put one in the middle, which we're going to say is right about there. So put one there, skip one groove, and put one there. Okay, so now I know where my holes are going to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my signature, line it up at the top, and I'm going to put a little mark right where those 3 holes are going to be in my book. And they're going to be the same for both signatures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my signature up since my mark is on the back. And since they're both the same, I'm going to put them both together. And I'm going to take my pokey tool, make sure that they're lined up, make sure that I've got my fold in the right space. And I'm just going to poke right through the fold that I have here. Again, make sure, and you can clip these together to hold them together so they don't move at all. And then the last mark is right here. And there we go. So now we have our holes, and I'm actually going to make sure that I really got those in there well. There we go. And we have 2 signatures, so we have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Set this one aside for just a second. Poke our holes in here. And I'm only going to poke the holes in this first one right now. Then I'll poke the holes for the second one. So that I don't mess up my stitching. And, well, I lied because it'll be easier to poke it without having the other signature hooked on. Again, make sure you keep your fingers out of the way. Alrighty, so the center of this one, I believe I had chosen this green cording for. And I have a needle with a big eye so we can get the cord in there. And this is just, we call it baker's twine from the Dollar Tree. All right, so what you want to do is you want your cording, I hold it a little above and below, but you want it 3 times as long as whatever you're sewing together. So there's 1, 2, 3. And that's going to give us enough to let it dangle in the middle also. I'm just going to kind of pinch my cording together, line my hole up with where it's pinched and pushed down. And there we go, we got it. No knots in this. So we are just going to go through, and this is how I do the 3-hole punch. We're going to go through the center, making sure that you leave a tail. Hold on to it. Make sure you line your holes up. Then go through the top. Make sure that you get it pulled all the way through so you don't wind up with a bunch of thread or a knot of thread back there. Okay, then we're going to go back through the center, hold your string out of the way. Again, making sure that you've got it tight. And then we're going to go through the bottom, watching our holes to make sure that we're on the right side of the holes, because I messed it up just a few weeks ago. Okay, where's our tail? Alrighty, and then we are going to come back up to the middle. Here's our top thread. We're going to go under that top thread, because now that catches this and holds it up there in the middle. And we've got this one that we originally went through. And take that off. We're going to tie a knot. We're going to tie a knot. 1, 2. There we go. Now I actually do have quite a bit extra, but I am going to just trim them off the same length here at the bottom, and maybe we'll put some danglies on there. I like to use flat danglies like little paper punches or something, so that they're flat. So for this one, I chose some pink. I thought it'd just be kind of fun to have different colors. So 1, 2, 3. And I don't mind if I have a little extra. I just throw it in my fabric, in my fabric scraps box, and then use it for snippets or something later. Pinch it between my fingers, line up the hole of the needle, and bring that right down on there. Whoops, and see, I shredded it all up. Because I think I do have extra, I am going to cut that off and do it again. Pinch it between my fingers, line up the hole. Carefully try and pull it through there. There we go. Whoops. Okay, I don't want to pull that through as far. I just want a bit of a tail up there. Okay, so again, 3-hole pamphlet stitch, the way that I do it, because there are other ways to do any of these types of things. So I'm going to put it in the middle, down through the middle, hold your tail, in through the top, make sure we've got all 3. Hold on to that tail, give it a good pull. There we go. Okay, holding that out of the way, we're going to go back down through the middle. I lost my hole. There it is. Make sure you give it a good pull. Check the back. Make sure that it's nice and flat there. And then we're going to come up through the bottom. Pull my extra bit of thread. My thread's doubled over and part of it is not. There we go. There we go. Alrighty, now we're going to go under the top thread. So that holds it up there in the middle. This one is in the middle. So now we can just tie a knot. Keep it nice and tight. And really, once it's in here, your book's not going anywhere if it is a little bit loose. There we go. And then cut it off at the bottom. So there we go. Now it is attached, and this is not on the outside of our spine because we did that hidden, whatever they call it, hidden stitch, hidden spine, and we are going to glue this right in there. And we are going to, what I'm going to do when I go to, after I glue it, I'm going to put it this way and then put a heavy book on top of it. Just like that. So, but before we do that, we'll put our little boxes in. So here's the box we made. Hopefully it is held together well. It is. And I put this one backwards. I put it towards the front. I like to put them towards this way, but it's too late now, so that's all right. Maybe we'll go ahead and wrap something around that later. So this is the box that we made. It's going to be to hold our pen. Now we may put a little flap sticking up here where we can pull on that to undo it. And we'll get to that when the time comes, but this is going to be glued right there. And then we're going to glue the other side also. And where? Oh, here it is. Couldn't figure out what I did with my glue. I'm going to just glue this with tacky glue. Get it out to the edges. Get enough on there, but you don't need too much because you don't want it squishing out all over the place. I'm going to open my mat page. And put this one right in here. Making sure it's even with the bottom of my book. I don't want it to be hanging over the bottom or my book won't stand up if I decide I want to stand it up. Making sure that it will close. Yes, it will. Okay. Making sure that that will close, and yes, it will. Need to maybe bring it down just a little bit closer to the bottom so that there's not any kind of, it's not binding at all on here. Okay, and then like I said, this is just going to get glued in there, and those pages will fit right there. I'm not going to do this right this second because I'm going to put glue on the back and stick it down there and put a book on it. So to keep that so that it's not in our way, we're going to put the other side. I'm going to put the box on the other side. See, we're going to close this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the box on this side and close it. And then I'm going to set something on these before I mess with that other spine, because I want those boxes to really be held down. So that goes over there. And I'll also, after I go, I will put the back page in just like we put the front page in. Here is the back page. So this one is going to fit right in there. And then I will trim it to the height of the box just like we did the front page. I'll just cut it out of here and tape it in just like the other side. But let's get this box in. You know, I need to make sure positively that I made that other box open to the front. Okay. I was afraid I might have put it in backwards. And that flap, folding the flap in, keeps it all shut nicely. Also, it gives your box more strength because your box is actually, you know, pushing against that lid. So that just also gives your box more strength. I need to bend this a little better. Now I need to pull it out of there. But it wasn't shutting and staying shut. There we go. That's better. Okay, so this is going to go right across the bottom here. There we go. Right out to the edge of my book. And we're not going to do any kind of a spine here yet because we're going to figure out what it is that we're going to put on this side of our lap book. Excuse me. Because we're going to, you know, be doing some flips and flaps and those types of things over here. And so I'm not sure what we're going to need here until we figure out what we're going to put there. So there we go. So now we have our journal, we have our box, we have our front cover put together along with our box for that one. That goes there. The journal goes in the middle, and that closes like that. So there we go. This is what it looks like so far. And of course, because the boxes are as wide as our books are, but we do have that journal in the middle. So, you know, I mean, I was holding it together to show you, but it will have a bit of a gap here because of the fact that we have the journal in the middle. So, you know, just wanted to show you that in case you were, you know, putting yours together and thought, oh no, it doesn't close right. Well, they really don't. Now, if you want them to close right against each other, you don't have to put a journal in the middle. I just like to have a journal in the middle, and Now see, here is what, it's not tied right now, but here's what mine looks like. Even when it's tied, this is what it looks like. You know, there are our two covers, and there's my journal in the middle. So, you know, they're not going to close tight because there's something between them. And that's how it's supposed to be, the way that it's built here. So, that's what we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It feels now like we're actually getting somewhere. So, I am going to put some heavy books on these to make sure. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to take the journal out. Nice thing about having things that are removable sometimes. I'm going to take this out. And the reason that we did not sew in these pieces of paper is so that you can use them. This is regular size copy paper. Well, the first one is legal size and folded over for a flap, but this is just regular size copy paper folded in half. So if you use this all up in your writing and you want to take it out, you can take it out and refill it with something else. If you take your lap book on a trip with you or something, then you know, you can have a separate lap book pages or your separate journal pages like for each trip that you take. So and if you take it into a restaurant, you'll find that people want to see it because they're, you know, because a lot of times I did that. I took it into the restaurant so that while we were waiting, I could like do some writing and stuff. So I would take my lap book in and people were like, oh, what is that? And can I see it? So that's kind of fun. It's fun when people like what you do. Alrighty. I am just going to take my Alice, put it on there. I'm going to pull it back towards where those are, so that I'm not putting a ton. I want the pressure to be here in the center of the book so that I'm not putting a ton of pressure here. Although I could just take the books that I took out and put that under there. Well, if I can, there. Put that in there like that to make it so that I'm not putting a whole bunch of pressure right there from my Atlas there, and that gives it, that keeps it flatter. The flatter you can have things when you're trying to dry them, the better off that they will be. So that's what we have so far. I think it's coming along really nicely. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate you. Leave a thumbs up if you liked the video. If you get a chance, click the bell so that you'll know every time I upload a video. Thanks again, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.